Emma and her younger brother never imagined that a simple walk home from school would turn into a nightmare, trapping her in the hands of a calculated predator whose secrets had remained hidden in plain sight. It was an ordinary Tuesday, the kind of day that began quietly with the sun spilling golden light over the quiet suburb where Emma lived. The 13-year-old woke early, ready for school, her backpack neatly packed with notebooks and pencils, lunch carefully prepared by her mother, and a small charm she always carried tucked safely in her pocket. She left the house at the usual time, waving goodbye to her parents who were caught up in their own morning routines, unaware that this day would spiral into a nightmare. Emma's school day passed without incident, her teachers noticing nothing unusual. She was a bright, cheerful girl, liked by her classmates, careful with her schoolwork, and always polite to those around her. But outside the classroom, a shadow was already following her. The first sign of something wrong came in the form of a frantic call to the police from her mother. Emma had never failed to come home on time, and the minute she did not appear, alarm bells rang. Hours passed slowly, each tick of the clock amplifying the sense of dread. The family called friends, checked her usual hangouts, and contacted neighbors, but there was no sign of her. The anxiety was unbearable, a gnawing fear that tightened around the chest of every adult who had known Emma. Her favorite bicycle was still parked outside the school, and her lunchbox remained in her locker, uneaten. Every small detail confirmed what her parents already feared. She had not gone missing by chance. Police arrived quickly, beginning a methodical search of the area surrounding the school and the streets Emma would usually walk. Officers canvassed homes, asked residents if they had seen anything unusual, and even checked the local parks and stores. At first, nothing seemed out of place, and the sense of frustration began to build. But then, surveillance cameras from a nearby convenience store captured a dark van parked suspiciously along Emma's route. The vehicle stayed longer than normal traffic would dictate, its tinted windows hiding the driver's face. Authorities knew immediately that this was no coincidence. While detectives worked to trace the van, every hour became a test of endurance for the family. The neighborhood was quiet, almost too quiet, as if holding its breath along with them. Children were kept indoors, parents nervously scanning streets for any sign of the vehicle or its driver. Every unexpected noise, a distant engine, a door slamming, caused a ripple of fear. The search expanded, involving more officers and volunteers, spreading across the town like wildfire. Roadblocks were set up, cars pulled over, and the manhunt became urgent, desperate, as the possibility that Emma could be in immediate danger became clear. Neighbors who had passed the van earlier began to recall strange details, how it had lingered too long, how the driver seemed to watch the schoolyard. These small recollections became crucial pieces of a larger puzzle that had been hidden in plain sight. The police pieced together a timeline, tracing Emma's steps, analyzing every second from when she left her classroom to when she disappeared. Each new piece of information brought both hope and fear. The sense of urgency was heightened with every passing hour, the community gripped by a tension that seemed to hang in the air like a heavy fog. Emma's disappearance was no accident. It was part of a sinister plan, one that was only just beginning to reveal itself. Detectives knew that time was the most critical factor in locating Emma. From the moment her parents reported her missing, officers worked tirelessly, reviewing every possible lead and piece of evidence. Surveillance footage became the backbone of the investigation. Cameras from nearby shops, traffic intersections, and even private homes were examined frame by frame. The dark van that had lingered near the school became the focal point of the inquiry. Its license plate was partially obscured, but investigators worked with advanced image enhancement technology to try and identify the vehicle. Every angle, every reflection on the windows, and every shadow was analyzed in search of a clue that might reveal the driver's identity. The van belonged to a man with a troubling past. A background check revealed prior convictions involving offenses against minors, and police realized immediately that Emma was likely in extreme danger. Profilers warned that he would be calculating and manipulative, someone who knew how to isolate a child without leaving clear evidence behind. The investigators knew they were racing against the clock. They coordinated with neighboring towns, alerting patrol units to be on the lookout for the suspect and his van. Officers set up checkpoints and alerts were sent to local communities, asking residents to report anything unusual. Digital investigation became another critical avenue. Detectives searched the suspect's social media accounts, emails, and online activity. They discovered a pattern of grooming behavior, showing how carefully he had prepared to lure victims. Authorities uncovered evidence that he had been studying families in the area, observing routines, and identifying children who were vulnerable or walked alone. This knowledge was chilling. It became clear that Emma had been chosen deliberately and that the man had planned his crime long before that fateful day. As investigators pieced together the movements of the van, they identified locations where the suspect had been lingering in the days before Emma's disappearance. Officers visited each spot, collecting fibers, fingerprints, and other forensic evidence that could connect him to the crime. Every small piece of evidence helped build a clearer picture of the predator's methods. Detectives realized that he was not a random offender acting on impulse. He had created a system to isolate, control, and manipulate children. Community members came forward with tips, some recalling strange interactions or suspicious behavior near their homes. One person mentioned a man who had asked unusual questions about children's routines, while another described a vehicle parked for long periods near playgrounds. Each tip was carefully investigated, adding to the growing web of information. The investigation became a race against time, a careful balance of collecting evidence, analyzing data, and moving quickly enough to prevent further harm. Every lead heightened the tension, as detectives understood that the window to rescue Emma safely was narrowing with each passing hour. Authorities also began coordinating with federal agencies, using advanced tracking and profiling techniques to predict where the suspect might go next. They developed a timeline of his movements, comparing it to Emma's last known location. The intensity of the investigation grew, with officers working around the clock, driven by the knowledge that one misstep could endanger her life. Every second mattered, and the team remained focused on the ultimate goal, finding Emma and bringing her safely home. The tip that finally led police to a possible location came unexpectedly. An anonymous call reported unusual activity at an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. The building had long been deserted, its windows broken and walls covered in graffiti. At first glance, it seemed empty, just another forgotten structure in an industrial area. Officers approached cautiously, scanning the perimeter for signs of life. The air felt heavy with tension, each footstep echoing off the concrete walls. Inside, the warehouse appeared abandoned, but a closer inspection revealed subtle signs of recent activity: discarded wrappers, footprints in the dust, and small items that did not belong in a derelict building. Detectives discovered a narrow trapdoor concealed beneath a stack of old pallets. It led to a basement hidden from view, accessible only to someone who knew its location. The moment they opened it, a wave of realization struck them. The man had planned this meticulously. Inside, the basement was eerily organized. There were cots arranged along the walls, blankets neatly folded, and a small table stocked with snacks. Toys were placed in corners, a cruel attempt to create a sense of comfort for a frightened child. It was a controlled environment designed to keep the victim isolated and compliant, and the scale of the predator's preparation was chilling. Emma was found huddled in the corner of the basement, frightened but unharmed. She had been careful, trying to stay out of sight, but the suspect had monitored her movements closely, leaving no opportunity for escape. Officers immediately reassured her without overwhelming her, guiding her to safety while carefully securing the area. The sight of the hidden basement and its carefully curated interior revealed the calculated nature of the predator. Everything was designed to isolate, manipulate, and intimidate, and the realization that Emma had been living in such conditions for days left a lasting impact on the team. Evidence collected from the scene painted a disturbing picture of the suspect's mind. Cameras hidden in the corners had monitored every corner of the basement. Notes and lists were discovered, detailing routines, schedules, and instructions, showing how he had observed and controlled the victim's behavior. The sophistication of the setup was alarming. Detectives realized this was not the act of a lone impulsive criminal, but of someone with a deep understanding of psychological manipulation, someone who had anticipated every possible complication. Outside the warehouse, the local community remained unaware of how close they had been to tragedy. Officers worked quietly, keeping the operation under wraps until Emma could be safely rescued and taken to protective care. The discovery of the hidden trap door in the controlled basement shocked everyone involved. It was a stark reminder of the predator's cunning and the fragility of a child's safety in the wrong hands. The investigation was far from over, as the authorities understood that the suspect might have other victims or escape plans already in motion. Every piece of evidence was documented, analyzed, and preserved, forming the foundation for the next stage of the investigation as the focus shifted from rescue to uncovering the full extent of the predator's crimes. As officers continued to search the warehouse, they uncovered a series of hidden rooms behind false walls, each more alarming than the last. These spaces were small and cramped, designed to be concealed from anyone entering the main areas. Inside, they found an array of electronic equipment, monitors, wires, and recording devices that had been carefully installed to capture activity in and around Emma's home and even other locations in the neighborhood. It became clear that the man had been monitoring families for months, meticulously planning his crimes and gathering information to ensure no one could intervene. The scope of his surveillance was staggering, revealing a level of premeditation that went far beyond a single victim. Forensic analysis of the devices uncovered evidence of repeated attempts to contact other children through online platforms. The predator had created fake profiles, posing as trustworthy adults, patiently building trust with families and observing routines. Investigators were horrified to realize that Emma had narrowly escaped becoming part of a broader, more sinister pattern. The hidden rooms contained notebooks filled with names, addresses, and schedules, proof that he had been targeting multiple victims and preparing to act whenever an opportunity presented itself. The detectives also discovered maps and marked locations, showing areas where children frequently walked to school, parks, or other common places. Every detail had been recorded with precision. The man had studied the neighborhood carefully, identifying points of vulnerability, entrances, and exits that could facilitate his crimes. Evidence suggested that he had been living in the shadows of the community, blending in unnoticed while orchestrating a network of control and manipulation. The chilling reality settled over the team. This was not a single act of violence, but a long-term operation, executed with patience and cunning. The discovery of these hidden rooms prompted a deeper investigation into his recent activities. Police tracked financial records, phone activity, and other digital footprints, revealing interactions that had gone unnoticed until now. They found traces of attempts to manipulate and lure other children, each plan foiled only by chance or intervention from vigilant community members. Each piece of evidence heightened the urgency, emphasizing that time was critical in preventing further victims. Authorities also realized that his knowledge of technology had allowed him to operate with a sense of impunity, covering his tracks while continuing to plan additional crimes. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on everyone involved. Officers who had already experienced the tension of Emma's rescue were confronted with the terrifying possibility of what could have happened if the hidden rooms and surveillance equipment had gone undiscovered. The sense of relief at finding Emma alive was tempered by the knowledge that the predator's network could have extended further, putting other children at risk. Every photograph, every note, and every recording collected from the warehouse told a story of calculated cruelty, of a predator who had honed his methods and prepared for years to execute his plans. The investigation shifted from immediate rescue to a meticulous search for evidence that could dismantle the entire operation, exposing the full extent of his crimes and preventing further harm. Emma was carefully escorted from the hidden basement, her small frame trembling from the ordeal she had endured. Officers guided her to a safe location where she could receive immediate care. Medical personnel examined her for injuries and signs of trauma, while counselors began the delicate work of helping her process the fear and confusion she had experienced. Although shaken, Emma's resilience became apparent as she quietly followed instructions and responded to reassurance. The relief of seeing her alive was immense, but it was tempered by the stark reality of what could have happened if the predator had succeeded in his plans. The suspect was apprehended without resistance, arrested in the same warehouse where his intricate traps had been uncovered. Officers documented every inch of the property, collecting the hidden equipment, notes, and personal items that revealed the careful construction of his criminal network. The man's history of offenses, combined with the meticulous evidence found at the scene, painted a damning picture. Legal authorities moved quickly, pressing multiple charges including kidnapping, child endangerment, and possession of illegal materials. The case promised to be long and complex, with investigators preparing for a trial that would expose the full extent of his actions. Forensics teams continued to analyze the electronic devices and hidden rooms, uncovering details of additional victims who had narrowly avoided being trapped. Police worked to contact families whose children had been targeted, offering protection and support while piecing together the predator's movements over the preceding months. Each discovery reinforced the meticulousness of his operations and the danger he had posed to the community. The evidence collected ensured that the man could not deny the scale of his crimes, and it provided insight into his methods, allowing authorities to prevent future incidents. Emma's family, though still recovering from the shock, began the slow process of rebuilding their lives. The community rallied around them, offering support, meals, and counseling resources. Awareness campaigns were launched to educate parents and children about online safety and recognizing suspicious behavior. Emma's story became a cautionary tale, highlighting the importance of vigilance and the need for community cooperation in protecting children from predators. Her bravery and composure during the rescue inspired others, showing that even in moments of extreme danger, courage and quick action could make a difference. In the weeks following the arrest, investigators continued to work tirelessly, examining every lead to ensure no child remained at risk. The suspect's plans were fully exposed, revealing the calculated long-term nature of his crimes and the precision with which he had executed them. The outcome of the investigation demonstrated the effectiveness of coordinated law enforcement efforts, the importance of anonymous tips, and the critical role of community awareness. Emma's rescue served as a powerful reminder that predators often operate in the shadows, but with diligence, vigilance, and determination, even the most dangerous situations can be brought into the light. The town slowly returned to a sense of normalcy, forever marked by the terrifying events, but strengthened by the knowledge that justice had prevailed and a child had been saved.